Today, we're turning up the heat as we get into a new layer of understanding the energy equation. This episode is dedicated to a factor that permeates through every aspect of our reality, yet remains intriguingly elusive in its subtleties: temperature. Temperature, as we know, is a crucial aspect of our physical universe. It dictates the states of matter, drives chemical reactions, and even influences the behavior of the smallest particles that make up our reality. But how does it interact with the intricate components of our energy equation? In this exploration, we aim to unravel the impact of temperature on the equation, weaving together the threads of physical and non-physical realms. By understanding this interaction, we can deepen our grasp on the energy equation and its inherent wisdom. Before we get into the intricate dance between temperature and our energy equation, let's revisit the concept of temperature in the physical sense. Temperature is, in essence, a measure of the average kinetic energy of the particles in a system. In simpler terms, it's a reading of how much the atoms and molecules in any substance are jiggling around. The hotter the substance, the more kinetic energy these particles have, and thus, the higher the temperature. For example, consider a cup of hot coffee. The reason it feels hot to touch is because its molecules are moving rapidly and have a high kinetic energy. This energy is transferred to your skin when you touch the cup, causing the sensation of heat. Whether we're discussing the freezing depths of space or the boiling core of our Earth, temperature dictates the state and behavior of matter in our universe. But temperature doesn't solely exist in the physical realm. In fact, the concept of temperature has powerful metaphysical counterparts. Just as physical entities possess kinetic energy, metaphysical entities, our thoughts, consciousness, and emotional energies vibrate at their own frequencies, creating a sort of metaphysical temperature. Each mental or emotional state we experience can be thought of as a unique energy state, or a temperature, if you will. For instance, emotions such as anger or passion are often described as hot, symbolizing their high intensity or energy state. They lead to rapid mental activity, much like the fast-moving particles in a physically hot object. On the other hand, emotions like calmness or apathy are described as cool or cold. These emotions represent lower energy states, akin to slower-moving particles in a cooler object. Through this lens, we begin to see the profound influence of temperature on our subjective experiences and the world around us. Given this new understanding of temperature, how does it affect our thoughts, our consciousness, and our emotional energies? Let's delve into that. Firstly, our thoughts, T. The temperature of our thoughts can be seen as the intensity or speed of our cognitive processes. High temperatures could correspond to rapid, intense thought processes, like during brainstorming or problem-solving. In contrast, lower temperatures could represent slower, more meditative thought processes. It's a beautiful illustration of the interconnectedness between our internal mental states and the external physical world. Now, let's consider consciousness, C. The temperature of consciousness could correspond to our level of awareness or alertness. When we're fully awake and engaged, our consciousness might be at a higher temperature. But in states of relaxation, meditation, or sleep, our consciousness cools, signifying a shift to lower levels of external awareness, but potentially higher levels of inward awareness. Lastly, our emotional energies, E. As we've touched on, emotions often have temperatures associated with them. Feelings like love, anger, or excitement are often described as warm or hot and can stir us into action, much like high temperatures can stir molecules into motion. Contrastingly, emotions such as calm, boredom, or apathy might be cooler, leading to less outward activity. Understanding these temperature interactions offers us a remarkable way to explore and describe our inner experiences, using language and concepts from the physical world. So now we're pondering about the constants, alpha, beta, and gamma, which we've introduced earlier in the series. These are integral parts of the energy equation, providing balance among the various components. But how could changes in temperature affect their values? Let's speculate together. Consider alpha, the constant associated with our thoughts, T. As the temperature or intensity of our thoughts increases, we might speculate that the value of alpha could also increase, representing a stronger influence of our thoughts on our overall energy state. Similarly, as our thoughts cool or slow down, alpha could decrease, signifying a reduced impact. Now, what about beta, the constant tied to our consciousness? See? An elevated temperature of consciousness or higher alertness might correspond to an increased beta value, indicating a heightened influence of our awareness on the energy equation. In contrast, as our consciousness cools during relaxation or inward-focused states, beta could decrease, reflecting its lesser role in such moments. And lastly, gamma, the constant that's linked with our emotional energies, E. As our emotional temperature rises with intense feelings, we could hypothesize that the value of gamma increases, showing that our emotions hold a stronger sway over our energy equation. Conversely, as our emotions cool, gamma might decrease, illustrating less emotional influence. Keep in mind that this is a conceptual exploration, and the exact relationships might be more complex. However, the potential interplay between temperature changes and the constants of the energy equation offers a fascinating avenue for further exploration and understanding. Now let's visualize this fascinating interplay. We'll use our new energy equation to demonstrate. As you can see, this equation shows the three aspects: thoughts, T, consciousness, C, and emotional energies, E, each influenced by a corresponding constant, alpha, beta, gamma, respectively. Let's imagine the temperature as an invisible hand subtly adjusting these constants. For alpha, imagine the temperature of your thoughts fluctuating. As it increases, representing intensified thinking, we see alpha possibly getting larger. As the thought temperature cools, alpha might reduce. Likewise, with beta, visualize the temperature of your consciousness oscillating. As it heightens, beta increases, showing a stronger influence of our awareness. As it cools, beta might decrease, indicating a reduced influence. And for gamma, imagine the ebb and flow of your emotional temperature. As it heats up with heightened feelings, gamma rises, indicating a stronger sway of emotions in our energy equation. As it cools, gamma could potentially decrease. It's worth reiterating that these are hypotheses, and the real relationships could be more complex. Still, it's an intriguing way to visualize how fluctuations in temperature might interplay with our new energy equation. Now that we've contemplated the potential influence of temperature on the new energy equation, let's dive a bit deeper. We all know temperature affects energy states in the physical world, but how exactly does it do this? Let's start with something we all experience daily: the weather. The sun's heat causes the air close to the Earth's surface to warm up. This warm air, which has more kinetic energy, rises and creates wind, a form of mechanical energy. Now think about cooking. Heat changes food from raw to edible states, causing physical and chemical changes. It's this thermal energy, transferred to the food, that causes molecules to move faster and react with one another. In a much broader sense, temperature is a driving force for many natural phenomena. It drives ocean currents, influences seasons, even plays a key role in the life cycles of stars. So, in the physical realm, temperature is a form of energy and a measure of the intensity of energy due to the kinetic motion of particles. Changes in temperature lead to changes in energy states. Keep that in mind as we transition to our next point. We've talked about how temperature affects large-scale phenomena like weather and stellar life cycles, but it also plays an incredibly crucial role in smaller-scale events, such as phase changes and chemical reactions. Take phase changes, for instance. Ice melts into water, water evaporates into steam. What's driving these changes? It's the heat energy, which increases the kinetic energy of the water molecules. As they move faster, they spread apart, transitioning from a solid to a liquid and then to a gaseous state. And when it comes to chemical reactions, temperature again has a significant impact. Think about striking a match. The friction generates heat, igniting the match head. This heat initiates a chemical reaction, which sustains the flame by breaking down the chemicals in the match head and forming new ones, releasing heat and light. Essentially, temperature is an activator, a kind of switch. It can kickstart reactions, drive transformations, and shape the very world around us at both macro and micro levels. Now, let's get into a question that might seem abstract, but it's at the core of our exploration. Can we draw parallels between the role of temperature in the physical world and its potential impact on the metaphysical components of the energy equation, namely thoughts, consciousness, and emotional energies? Remember our equation? The one that links our thoughts, consciousness, and emotions with these mysterious factors, alpha, beta, and gamma? The one that we believe represents the flow of energy and information in our universe at multiple levels, not just physical, but mental and emotional too. How could temperature fit into this picture? Just as in the physical world, where temperature acts as a catalyst, initiating and accelerating processes, could it be that there is a metaphysical counterpart? Could there be a form of temperature that affects the speed or intensity of our thoughts, the state of our consciousness, and the force of our emotional energies? Let's consider thoughts. When we are calm and relaxed, our thoughts often flow slowly and peacefully. But when we are stressed or excited, they might race, akin to particles moving rapidly in a high-temperature environment. And what about our consciousness? Could it also transition between states, depending on the heat of our experiences or perceptions, just as water changes from solid to liquid to gas? As for emotional energies, we often speak of heated arguments or warm feelings, hinting at the possible relationship between emotional intensity and temperature. All these parallels give us much food for thought. Is there a way to quantify these metaphysical temperatures? How might they interact with alpha, beta, and gamma in our equation? These are the questions that we will explore in our journey ahead. Let's take a closer look at how variations in these metaphorical temperatures could affect the balance of our equation. Imagine, if you will, a situation where your thoughts are particularly heated. We've all had those moments when our minds are racing, thoughts pinging back and forth like molecules in a boiling pot. What effect might this have on our energy equation? As the temperature of our thoughts increases, the value represented by T in our equation might also elevate. Now, depending on the precise values of our constants alpha, beta, and gamma, this could lead to a shift in the equilibrium of our equation, potentially causing an increase or decrease in our consciousness and emotional energies. Now, consider the inverse situation, a moment of cool consciousness. Perhaps you're in deep meditation or simply enjoying a peaceful moment alone. The temperature of your consciousness might be lower in these moments, and as such, the value represented by C in our equation could decrease. Again, depending on our constants, this could shift the balance of the equation, affecting the intensity of our thoughts and emotional energies. It's a fascinating concept to consider, isn't it? The potential interplay of these variables within our energy equation could have profound implications for our understanding of reality. But remember, this is just one way to interpret the relationship between temperature and the energy equation. As we go deeper into the subject, we'll be sure to explore other perspectives as well. Now, how might this concept apply to the fields of psychology and philosophy? Let's unpack this a bit. In psychology, temperature could potentially provide a new perspective on mental states and emotional dynamics. For instance, consider an individual undergoing a period of intense stress or anxiety. The temperature of their thoughts might be metaphorically high, indicating a high kinetic energy state, with thoughts rapidly bouncing around. Such a state might result in an elevated T in our equation. This model could potentially provide a new framework for understanding and addressing such conditions. Therapeutic interventions might be designed with the aim of cooling the thoughts, reducing their metaphorical temperature, and thereby restoring balance within the energy equation. From a philosophical perspective, our discussion brings to mind the age-old debates around mind-body dualism, the nature of consciousness, and the subjective experience of reality. The concept of temperature, as we're using it here, could potentially provide a bridge between the physical and metaphysical, offering a new lens through which to explore these complex issues. As we continue our journey through the energy equation, we'll keep delving into these intriguing implications and potential applications. So, stick around as we turn up the heat on our exploration of this fascinating new theory. Let's now consider an even broader perspective. Is it possible that there might be some level of synchronization or resonance between physical and non-physical temperatures? This is an intriguing possibility that emerges from our exploration of the energy equation. On the physical side, we have tangible, measurable temperature changes, the kinetic energy of particles. On the non-physical side, we have the metaphorical temperature of thoughts, consciousness, and emotional energies. If the metaphorical temperature of our thoughts and emotions shifts, say from a calm, cool state to a heated, excited state, could this shift reflect or even influence our physical surroundings? This brings us to a fascinating intersection of physics, psychology, philosophy, and perhaps even spiritual insight. If these elements are indeed interconnected as our energy equation suggests, then we are opening up a whole new level of understanding how we can interact and influence the world around us. Consider the potential implications for biofeedback, therapeutic techniques, mindfulness practices, and perhaps even our understanding of phenomena like vibe or aura in a space. Again, this is largely speculative and theoretical at this stage, but isn't it fascinating to think about? This is the kind of exploration and questioning that the new energy equation invites us to undertake. Stay tuned as we further delve into these intriguing concepts. Let's go deeper into this exciting concept by exploring some potential scenarios. How could changes in physical temperature and metaphysical temperature influence each other? Imagine you're sitting in a cool, serene garden. The breeze is gentle, and the temperature is just right. This physical temperature can lead to a state of calm and relaxation in your thoughts and emotions, a lower temperature in your consciousness. Now consider the opposite scenario. You're in a noisy, crowded, and hot environment. The uncomfortable physical temperature might lead to agitated, heated thoughts and emotional states. In these examples, we can observe how the physical temperature can potentially influence our metaphysical state. However, the energy equation suggests a possibility for the reverse to happen as well. Imagine you're in a physically cold environment, like a snowy landscape, but you're deeply meditating, focusing on warmth, peace, and tranquility. Your internal, metaphysical temperature could potentially influence your physical experience of the cold. Or consider a heated argument. Even in the midst of emotionally charged, hot words, if you can keep your internal state cool and calm, you might influence the overall energy of the situation, potentially even calming it down. Again, these scenarios are hypothetical, yet they serve to illustrate the profound potential implications of temperature's role in the energy equation and the possible interplay between the physical and non-physical realms. In today's episode, we explored a fascinating concept: the role of temperature in our energy equation. From the physical interpretation of temperature as the measure of kinetic energy to its metaphysical aspects as heat of thoughts, consciousness, and emotional energies, we dove into how this interplay might balance our equation and influence our experiences. Coming up next, we dive deeper into the realm of physics, focusing on a fundamental force that binds the universe: gravity. We'll explore the relationship between the energy equation and gravity, providing a fresh perspective on this powerful force that we experience daily. But we don't want this journey to be just a one-way stream. We'd love to hear your thoughts, interpretations, and experiences. How do you see the impact of temperature on your thoughts, consciousness, and emotional energies? If you're as captivated by this concept as we are, we encourage you to experiment with the equation on your own, considering different temperatures in your life. Before we conclude, remember to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notifications so you never miss an episode in this series. Lastly, a huge thank you to all of you for joining us on this journey of exploration and discovery. We truly appreciate your time, engagement, and curiosity. Until next time, keep exploring, and remember, our universe is an interconnected mosaic of energy.